Hello, Blake Hart here, and today we are talking about using Maschine with Ableton. So if you're new to using Maschine and you're new to using Ableton, or if you're just trying to get in the mix and learn what the heck is going on, this video is going to be helpful for you. So if your experience with Maschine has just been, I don't know, it's not robust enough, right? You're used to the linear arrangement and you want more, then working with an Ableton is going to give you that capability, right? It's going to open up some doors for you. And we all know that, you know, Maschine, Native Instruments, they've been talking about how the software is going to be transformed and going to allow for a more linear working arrangement. They're going to make some updates to it, and that is coming soon because we've seen some information on YouTube. I'll link the video below about what that's going to look like. But it's not here yet. So in the meantime, we're using Ableton, and maybe you just like using another DAW, right? One of the hardest things being a beginner is figuring out a workflow. Even people who are in it for a year or two or whatnot are changing up their workflow because you find that something you've been doing, maybe that wasn't the best way. I can get more out of doing something this new way. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? You always want to pivot where you see more opportunity and something that's going to bring you to that next level. Right here today, I have this project open in Maschine. You may recognize this from my last video I did up here, which was the synthwave expansion for Nexus 3. But let's check this out. Just a little something I put together with some samples, and then use this new expansion from the Synthwave VST. And like, let's say I was playing around in here, I got this going in Maschine, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. This was my sketch, and I want to transfer over this idea to Ableton. Well, there's a lot of cool things that we can do, and you may not be aware of this, so that's why I thought this video would be helpful. So here we have our instance of Live open. I'm going to try to move this over and keep these next to each other here without making them too small so that we can see what we're doing. So let's say, for example, and again, this is something here, this synth that I created, and I want to bring this over. I've got a few different options. So one of my options is audio, right? I've already created it. And the audio, if we want to click on this little button here, if you can see this, and I'll highlight it, this means you're going to drag audio somewhere. So you're going to click down on it, hold that mouse in like it just said. I'll try to slow it down in post so you can see it. And you're going to drag it over to an audio track in Ableton. And so now you can see in Ableton, I've got this audio track here. So let's play it. And I can manipulate however I'd like in Ableton. But let's say I like the melody that I wrote, and I was like, oh, this is a really cool melody, but you know, I want to play around with some new sounds with it, and I want to work in Ableton. So this other little button here, this lets you drag MIDI over, and you have to drag it into a MIDI track over here in Ableton, and then from here in Ableton, you've got the MIDI, so we can see that. And, you know, oftentimes what happens in dragging, this even happens inside Ableton with Captain Chords and different things. You're going to get these time signature edit things up here. And all you want to do is just delete the time signatures. You right click on that. I'll do it again for you. So you put your mouse here, right click, delete all time signatures, and you'll get back to your original time. So here you can see that we have this MIDI pattern, and all you have to do is drag in an instrument. So you literally can go over to your instruments, you know, drag in anything that you want. So let's drag in Serum. And once you drag this in, and let's just pick anything here. So that we have, let's pick a lead. And once you drag it in, now you can pick an instrument here. So I can play around with it over here and check out different instruments. Okay, so that's another way that we can do things here. But one of the other powerful things about Maschine is taking the drums out, right? Because there's so many great drum patterns in the different expansions that Maschine has, and even using Maschine is a really great tool to create drum patterns and various drum patterns. And how do we get those, if we want to just play around with those, into Ableton? So there's a few ways to do that as well. So let's go into that right now. So one way is just the sound. So what you want to do just to get one sound, right? Like let's say I just want my kick. I'm going to just solo out this kick, right? I just put my mouse there, right click. Anytime I put my mouse on the number and I right click, I'm either going to get everything or just one. So if I just want the kick, and let's say I just want the audio version, and let me actually get rid of these examples for now. So if I want the audio version, I'm going to take what we said was the audio, and I'm just going to drag it into audio track, and you'll see here, now I just have the kick. So, and just to show you what would happen if, for some reason, I had everything highlighted in Maschine, like we talked. So like I have everything here, all my drums here. Now if I drag over the audio, what you're going to see is I get every single drum sound. So the whole drum loop. And you can see right away by the wave right here, I got everything. All right, so let's delete that out, and we're going to show you a few more cool things. Let's say I'm like, okay, cool, I like this MIDI for the drums. Like I really like this, but I don't need to use these particular sounds, and I just want to get the MIDI over into Ableton. I want to play around with it some more. So this is really cool. So we're going to click on the MIDI here, and we're just going to drag this over to a MIDI track. In Ableton, you can see, look at this. There's like a ton of them lined up, so they're going to come all over as separate tracks. So let's take a look at this, because this is pretty cool. You know, there's a lot of power in those expansions that come with Maschine and all the drums that are there. So now I've dragged this over into Ableton, and I have all of this in MIDI, which is so cool because I can tweak things independently. I can apply effects independently. There's a ton of ways to work with drums inside Ableton, and that within itself is a preference, right? And you'll do it different ways over time, maybe even in different projects, because I don't know, just one project fits a certain way and another fits another way. So here's my kick, all right? And like, let's say I go to different, let's say I want to pick out some sounds. So let's hop into the Illmind collection here and go for some drums. And let's find ourselves a kick. I gotta tell you, I know it depends on what you're looking, but I like when they're in folders. But Illmind doesn't do folders, which is all cool. We can still manage. So if I'm on this kick, and let's relabel this because it's gonna throw people off. But when I'm on this kick here, and I let's say I just double click the kick, it's going to come into this track, this MIDI track, as just a sound sample. And there it is. So now I can go through everything and I can say, okay, so here's my snare. So let me drag in let's go here, and we'll drag in a snare. These were my closed hi-hats. So you can just, you can play around with stuff. I mean, there's other ways to, again, do this. You can do it in a drum rack, but... And you see that these all come in with the velocities. It's not like the best hat to pick there. But they all come in with their velocities too, which is nice, right? Everything comes in with the different velocities that you had in Maschine. So just a really great way to get these drum patterns over in Maschine here. So now... that's just some quick stuff. Let's talk about what if I'm just in Ableton and I want to use the Maschine VST inside Ableton, because there's a lot of power there as well. I use this various ways. I mean, you can use this various ways, and it's really the best thing is for you to practice, try, figure out how it works best for you. But we can open up Maschine as a VST inside here. So let's go over, where do I have? I always forget where I have Maschine under. So we'll open it up just as a VST. And what this does is basically we have Maschine in Ableton, and we can do all of the things, most of all of the things we're used to doing in Maschine, but we are integrated now with our host, Ableton. Sometimes this does take a little while to open up, but we're open now. And the big thing I want to show you, because this is the big thing. We wish that we could just fully decide how we want this window to appear, right? And drag it out, but we cannot. So we're going to click this little arrow. We're going to go up to view, and we see there's options here, and you want to click on the large view. This is as big as you can get it, right? So depending on what type of monitor you have, what you're using, you may find that you wish it was bigger. I do wish it was bigger, but you know what? We can work with this, right? We can absolutely work with this. So now we have this open in Maschine, and we can do whatever we want. So like one of the things, again, you can use it for everything, but let's say I wanted to work on some sweeps and swells that I want to bring in. So I can load this in here. I can get in my key of my song. So I'm going to touch my keyboard button on Maschine. I'm going to change my key, make sure I'm in whatever song I'm doing, set that up. And then let's say I've got this in here, and I'm like, yeah, I want to use this swell. I've got it in the key I want, blah, blah, blah. Because the other thing I don't want to discount is Maschine is a nice place to find stuff, right? The Native Instruments has done an amazing job with their navigation system and being able to audition and find sounds, right? So if I was trying to find a sweep or swell that I liked by going through just my folders and, that would be tough. But I found it in Maschine, and I'm like, this is perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this. I'm like, oh, this swell's perfect. I want to use it in my project. I'm going to hold down the little audio squiggly button, and I'm just going to drag it in my track. And now I can use that anywhere. It's in the same key that I'm using. I know it fits. And there's so many different ways that you can use Maschine in here. So I don't want to discount the other ways, but you can tie it, again, it's coordinated and synced to the host. So anything you're doing in here is synced to your other project. So if you wanted to load up an instrument here and play around in here, I could then be synced to the drums that are playing inside of my Ableton. So there's a lot of stuff. I really, really just encourage you to check it out. Open Maschine as a VST, open it alone as a standalone. Try to play around with it with your workflow. See what you're using it for, what works best for you, right? Because I have a push here, and with the push, I feel like there's a lot of stuff I can do inside Ableton that maybe, I don't need to do inside Maschine. But there's a lot of benefits of Maschine that I lose just working alone inside of Ableton. So if you get where I'm going here, you just need to play around with it, figure out how it works best for you, and just work on your workflow. One person's workflow is completely different than the next person, but I think that's why videos like these are helpful, especially for beginners who are just trying to wrap their head around, what am I doing with these software DAWs, these instruments, and how can I make the best music I can make personally? I hope this video was helpful. I know it was somewhat of a quickie, but I thought it was important to get this information out there for you guys. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate your support. I'm going to be working on just trying to really niche down in this channel. I got some business stuff I want to talk about, a lot of cool stuff coming. I really, really have been challenged with time. I can't even tell you guys how difficult it's been, and going into this fall with remote school and 3 kids, I'm just like, how do I get more time in my day? And I don't have it right now. So I just got to be grateful for just, living a good life right now. I don't have the time to do the things I want to do, but the time will eventually come, and you know, I just keep believing that in my heart, so we'll get there. Thank you though for continuing to support and watch my videos. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here and you haven't subscribed already, and I'll see you guys again soon.